Ubirajara Rodriguez, who was the first person to break the story.
What we can say from the evidence, the maximum we can say, is that there is not the slightest bit of doubt that everything did happen. We say this not only because we have heard from people from the town who were indirectly involved, but with people who participated in the principal events.
Although medical staff and the military have given first-hand testimony to researchers, they are unwilling to reveal their identities.
Espero que você entenda. Se você mencionar meu nome, eu serei apagado do mapa.
One of the soldiers was carrying a sack where, as far as I could make out, something was moving inside.
I do not think that any of our principal witnesses are lying. None of them, not the civilians or the military. The statements are concrete, and I believe in the sincerity of all of them.
Well, it was very hard for me to get all this military personnel to give me information, but I got it, and I'm not talking about only soldiers, I'm talking about high-ranking people. I'm talking about lieutenants, majors, captains, sergeants.
Many of the witnesses to the incidents were traced and told not to reveal any more information. Some of the military witnesses who were involved were threatened in a very serious manner by their superiors and told not to release any more information about the case to anyone, even if they did not know who they were giving information to.
The military were threatened by their superior. Don't talk about this to anybody.
But they all told me the same thing, the characteristics, the whole operation, time, who was involved, who was coordinating, what kind of equipment was used. So they all confirmed everything.
One nurse who has been working for the same institution, for the same hospital for over 20 years, was threatened. The principal called her and said, hey, you're not supposed to talk about this to anybody, because if you do, you better start looking for another job.
There are other differences that I'm curious about as much as anything. The description of the bodies connected with the Varginha case makes it sound much more like they were cargo than crew. They seem to be woozy, they didn't have any clothes, the little horns, the color of the skin and stuff. Their reactions did not imply particularly high intelligence. Now, who knows? Maybe this was a crew from a different place, and we don't know what their mental capabilities were or something like that. But you just don't get the feeling, looking at the drawings that have been made, the testimony of the witnesses, that we're dealing with particularly sophisticated aliens here. And I can imagine a cargo craft that ran into some kind of a problem, pilot error is common apparently, in which these guys were set loose and weren't really the operators of the craft. Now with Roswell, I don't have that indication. The bodies seem to be directly connected with the craft, one-piece spacesuits. I'm not saying being nude means anything particularly here, but just a different level of sophistication. I'd also like to know, something we didn't have any capability of doing back in '47, observations of things crashing from the sky, that is, spy satellites. There's an awful lot of sophisticated equipment up there, looking for re-entry of an American satellite, of a Russian satellite, or a flying saucer. So, did we know it was coming down? Was word sent to the Brazilian Air Force? What's the involvement of the American government? Brazilians don't have a lot of spy satellites up there, but the American and Russian governments do. So there's a larger picture here. I don't know of any previous cases where beings like this were seen before. Maybe this is a new step in what's going on. I don't know. So there are a lot of puzzles here.
3 months later, just when everyone was starting to calm down, alien beings, it seemed, returned once more to Varginha. A local woman claimed that she saw a creature fitting the same description given back in January by the 3 girls. This incident occurred while she was attending a party at the local zoo.
I went outside to have a cigarette onto the balcony, and I saw something really ugly. It was dark brown and had big, bulging red eyes. It was really ugly. I'm sure it wasn't an animal.
It is a coincidence that around the same time as the sighting of this creature, we were having problems. And there were actually some animals that had died since February. I lost 5 animals, but we do not know why. There was no scientific explanation, and nothing came to light in any post-mortem examinations. This is very strange. I have been director at this zoo for 7 years, and there has never been anything like this.
So what is the legacy of this succession of extraordinary and still unexplained events?
I think we're just having the biggest opportunity to prove that the mankind had some contact with alien creatures. The Roswell incident is a very important one, but it happened 50 years ago. This is recent. We have a lot of information from military sources, civilian sources, I mean fresh information. I've made many videos with military witnesses and civilian witnesses. It's really frustrating to have them in my possession and not being able to show it to the public, to the colleagues and all the UFO community. It's quite convincing because it's almost impossible for them to be telling me all that information if they were not really involved in the whole situation.
It's just unbelievably undeniable. Undeniable. Now, doesn't matter what the military say, they are hiding. They are hiding. They do have captured aliens in Brazil alive.
One of the good things about the Varginha case is that presumably almost all the witnesses are still alive and will be for some time. I didn't start the serious investigation of Roswell until 1978, 31 years after it happened. And many of the key witnesses died in the next 10 years, not surprisingly. So we've got some hope here. If major effort is expended to get more witnesses, especially the insiders, the guys at the hospital, the military guys who grabbed and so forth, then there's certainly a good chance we can find those people. So I envy the people here and having some time to work with.
When the perfect time comes up, I will be presenting this information in the World Wide Net. It will be in the CNN news, it will be in United Kingdom, it will be in the whole world. But yes, I intend to do it. But if I do it right now, probably somebody's going to jail tomorrow. Because I do believe we were visited by alien creatures, and I want to know what happened to these creatures.